What's up, y'all? It's been a while since we've done one of these, so mind us if we're a bit rusty. Today we're talking about one of our most anticipated games on the Switch, Clubhouse games. I don't think anyone was more excited for this release than us. The original on the DS was a multiplayer staple for us and our siblings. The game is reviewed really well, yet we come to you somewhat disappointed. Why is that, you may ask? In this video, we'll let you know. The first issue that we have with the Switch release in comparison to the DS release is the lack of multiplayer options. On the DS release, the majority of the games you could play up to 8-player, and that was on a single card. So we actually only had one copy of Clubhouse games on the DS, and all of us could play the majority of the games in up to 8-player. On the Switch version, at most you can get 4 players, and it's really limited because let's say you wanted to play 4 players on a single Switch. There are a very limited amount of games. I believe there's only 2 that you can play in 4-player on a single. Or you can play a certain amount on either one card with download play or with multiple switches. And those games are Dominoes, Hanafuda, Mahjong, Texas Hold'em, Last Card, President, Ludo, and Sevens.
Which is sad because it has 51, kind of 52 games. And you can only play, what is that, 7 or 8?
Mm-hmm.
There should be a lot, because I feel like this should have been like multiplayer based, not just 2 players, but like a whole bunch of people.
Exactly.
In the end, it's just like one really big downgrade from the original version. Just the fact that there's so many games that you should be able to play with more than just 2 people, even on a single card. If you have multiple ones, there should be even more than that, than just 4. But the fact that you can't do that is really just, it really isn't the way that you would see that this game would go.
It's also weird the way that they decided what games could be 4-player, because you have games like bowling and golf and
darts, tennis,
dots that you can only play in 2-player. And that makes no sense. Like, if you want to play bowling with multiple players, you have to have the first 2 people face off, and then they're done. And then I guess the winner stays on, and then somebody else can play against them. And that doesn't make sense. It should have at least been up to 4 players.
Yeah.
And the same thing with darts, the same thing with dots. And in the DS version, you could play up to 8 players on these games. Another big difference between the DS version and the Switch version is the missing chat feature. On the DS version, they had a facsimile of PictoChat, and it was just really fun to chat with the people that you were playing with PictoChat, because PictoChat on its own was like a really fun application, and then to be able to chat with the people that you're playing through text, or like to draw pictures. Like our picture streams that we used to put together were hilarious, and not to have that in this version is disappointing. And I expected it not to show up in the version because Nintendo has abandoned stuff like that, period. But it would have been really good to have in this version.
And they missed out on a chance to utilize their voice chat feature on the app. Like, they could have did that for online games, at least. If they didn't want to have an actual chat on the game, you could have used the voice chat.
Just chatting in general with online seems to be one thing that they're missing a lot of the time. And like when you're playing board games with somebody online, you want to be able to speak with them, like say, "Oh, that was funny what you did there," or just like communicate what game you want to play.
I want the trash talk.
Yeah, just
want it.
Anything really. Anything.
Like you can't even put GLA, good luck, all before you start a game and stuff. If it would just even text.
Yeah. GLA.
Good luck all.
Oh, I've never heard.
I used to play like games like Spades, which by the way is missing from this, which is also disappointing, online, and then you would have somebody, they'd be like GLA before you start the game, GGA after the game, good game, all and all of that, and you can't even do that. You can't even text chat with people, and that's disappointing. I mean, again, because we had that option on a DS version. It's like they stripped away a lot of things that were on a DS version for the Switch version.
Yep.
Yeah. And they could even just like incorporate a quick chat feature. Just like if they didn't want to do like a full chat, just like have a button you can press and there's like a select amount of like words or just sentences that you can say to the other person, and that's it. Just anything.
Yeah.
I totally agree. Then you have like little things that are missing, like the missing sorting functions in the original. You could pick from a certain category of games, and in this game, you can do that when you start the game. But when you actually go into the set of games, you can't really set it up like based on card games, board game, real world games like bowling, golf, and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And instead, when you go into it, you have to shift through all of these games to get to the game that you want to get to. And when it's 51 games, that's kind of frustrating.
Yeah.
Just the entire process is very tedious, and you want to be able to get to the game that you want to play as fast as possible. And I guess something that they can like add would be like you can set a queue for the games that you want to play and like do it in
That
that
would be
order.
a good idea.
But I kind of thought that's what they did, because when you press plus or minus in the title screen, it shows like the games that you've played thus far
Mm.
and who won. But there's no way to like actually like add more to that. Like, there should be some sort of like function to do that.
That should be something that they should definitely at least patch in,
Yeah.
just so that I could make it easier to streamline it a little.
I think you also said before to have to be able to favorite games that you play.
Yes.
So those would be, or it could be like a separate category. You could go to your favorite games, or games that you play the most, or games that you haven't really played, something like that.
The previous game had a mission mode, and there's no mission mode in this. It's basically you can only get a mastery of the games. And a mission mode is something that's cool for when you're playing solo player. When I'm playing single player, when I'm playing like solitaire, if there were like missions in solitaire, it'd be much more fun than just you beat it a certain amount of time and a certain speed and you get mastery of the game.
Yeah.
And calling it mastery of the game isn't really accurate, because all you're doing is just beating difficulty levels of the bots.
Exactly.
So it doesn't actually feel like you mastered it. It just feels like you were able to beat the computer.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really feel that way. Like there should be like actual missions or achievements that you can get that show you that you mastered that game.
Exactly.
And you should be able to get like, different colors for the games or the cards. You can get different card backs, right? But you can't like change like the color of the games like you could in the previous Clubhouse games.
Exactly. Yeah, the previous game you could like also get stamps and things. In this one, the only thing that you can do is you can get a few options for the back of the cards, and I'm not sure what the other unlockable is, but it's on the previous version. You can get like different colors for a lot of the things, and just having 3 or 4 different decks. This is a Nintendo game. You should be pulling from like all of the franchises for backgrounds and music and stuff, and they don't do that.
Yeah.
Then another major issue is that it's a multiplayer game, but in local multiplayer, the lag is horrible.
It's terrible.
We played some games, and I mean, the lag was really bad. We were playing, what was it, Mahjong or was it Hanafuda?
One of those.
We were playing one of those, and the lag was just so bad. And I mean, we were in the same room playing this, and we were experiencing that lag. When we played on the DS version, we would be in different rooms, all of us, and we would not experience that level of lag.
And again, it's just literally a downgrade from like the connection, and like again, different rooms, but like we're in the same room, but the connection is just so much worse for literally no reason.
Yeah, it makes no sense because people talk negatively about Animal Crossing's multiplayer, but when we play Animal Crossing together in the same room over a local connection, there's no lag like that.
Yeah.
In other multiplayer games that we play, when we play Towerfall, there's no lag. When we play Smash, there's no lag. But we play something like this, the lag is atrocious. And it's so weird that the lag is that bad, but then you go online and you're not experiencing lag of that level. So I don't get that. I don't understand how the code for local is so bad in comparison to the code for online.
Doesn't really make any sense.
And then with online, they have you pick from 3 games when you're gonna play an online game with others, and then the one that the most people pick is the game that you play. I would like a wider selection, maybe even random, so that you could play like a bunch of different games and get to know the games better. Because nobody knows all of these games. The only way that you're going to get to know all of these games is either if you're playing locally, playing by yourself and playing through them to gain mastery of them, or if you're playing online. And 9 times out of 10, you're just gonna pick the game that you know the best if you're playing online.
Yeah.
And also that means that a lot of people are gonna have similar ideas of the games that they want to play. So it's going to be hard to get games in the lesser known games online. So I wish there was some incentive to play the other games online.
Yeah, like again, achievements is a really big thing that Nintendo is just missing out on. Like there are like games that have in-game achievements, but like the Switch as a whole doesn't have like outside achievements. As far as like you actually doing something and something pops up and it's like you can get an icon or something like that, you know?
Yeah.
And it's funny because Nintendo probably could do really well with achievements just because they have all of these things in their games that could correlate with achievements. Like you could make the achievements coins or rupees and stuff like that, and they don't. And I'm not even really huge on achievements, but I do enjoy the little achievements that they have in some of their games. And this is a game that definitely should have had at least game-based achievements.
Yeah. Missed opportunity. And it's just sad that the previous game for the DS, it feels, how old is that game?
It's old.
It's pretty old, but it's the better of the two.
It is. And again, it's weird because this one has reviewed really well, but we're really kind of disappointed in it. And it's because we had such fond memories of the DS version. And to go from that to this, like, really, when I said at the beginning of the video that nobody was more excited than us, we were talking about wanting this game on the Switch before it was announced. When it was announced, we were extremely excited because it's a game that we have really fond memories of. We played with our siblings and we would play this game all the time. And now it's like I had them anticipating it, and I don't even think 2 of our sisters bought the game because we were disappointed when we finally got it.
Yeah.
Because we expected us to all be able to play together, like we'd be playing online right now with each other. And it's not the same experience.
And I mean, it is fun to play when we're all in the same place, of course. It is. But we shouldn't have to be switching off or, figuring out which one you can play with multiple people. There should be multiple 4-player games or more. Exactly. Especially if we most of us have Switches. All of us have Switches. Yeah. It's ridiculous. And the Game Pass thing kind of makes no sense to me.
Yeah. I mean, again, the Game Pass is supposed to emulate the download play on the DS, but with that, it's not the same.
It's not the same at all.
No.
It's not the same.
What's the company again that made this game?
Oh, it was made by IndieQ, the same people that made the last few Mario Party games. And it's like, it seems as if IndieQ's thing is to strip out features of these games and to release them. And I'm pretty sure this is going to sell really well. Mario Party sold really well, but we were disappointed in that game the same way. You have 4 boards in the Mario Party game, and they're 4 short boards.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That gets repetitive really quickly.
And I understand like the appeal because like it's very simplified in the UI, like it's very easy to get into. But for people who have played the game for so long, not even just Mario Party, but like Clubhouse games as well, it just feels like they know what people want, but they refuse to give it to them. And again, because the UI is so simplified, it should be easy to just implement certain things that people would actually want, or just like to add more to the game itself. But they don't do that. And that was the same for Mario Party 9, Mario Party 10, where they added the car.
Oh, God.
Like, I understand like some people liked it, but it didn't feel like a Mario Party game at all.
Yeah, it didn't.
It didn't.
Yeah.
And this one does feel more like a Mario Party game, but anything would feel more like a Mario Party game than that one.
Yeah, just being stuck inside a car with all the other people that you're playing with
That's
just
not
didn't
fun.
really make any sense.
6 was the best Mario Party.
Mario Party 6, Mario Party 2, 7, and 8, those games were really good. And I just feel like, I probably said this before, but companies need to give you more freedom in how you play the game. Like, if they wanted you to have the car be like the main thing, they could have that, but also make it so you can choose not to be in the car with the people that you're playing with.
Yep.
And just like in Clubhouse games, you should be able to choose, again, like how many people you play with, how many games you want to play. Just like all these functions that should be a thing, considering how far we've advanced in gaming. And the fact that it's not there, it just doesn't really make any sense at all.
Talk that talk.
Exactly, I agree 100%.
It's just backtracking at this point, really.
Yeah.
And I don't want to like be condescending towards this company because, like, you know, making money nowadays is very important. But when it feels like all they want to do is ship the game out as fast as possible just so that they can make the money. And because it's like a big staple like Mario Party, and even now Clubhouse games because of like what's going on with like the quarantine stuff. Obviously, these games are going to sell well because it just incentivizes you to buy it to be able to play with other people that's not in your area.
Exactly.
Like the more they do this, the more money that they're going to get. And even though people will complain about it, it's not going to stop them from buying it. So just all of this thing that's going on just really feels very counterintuitive. But money.
Then this one has more games than the original. This one has 51. I believe the original had 42, I want to say. And yet it's missing a lot of really good games, which makes no sense. Like, we didn't mention Spades already, but it's missing Word Balloon, it's missing Balance, it's missing I Doubt It, Takeover, Escape. Those are games that we expected to be there, especially since it was 51 games more than the last one. To have those missing is disappointing.
And I think that there should be like more options for single player games. Like, what do you have that's single player?
Solitaires.
Solitaires. What else? I mean, then you can play
That
the majority.
puzzle.
You can play the majority of the other games in single player against the CPU. But yeah, I understand. Like, just solo games. There's not a lot of them. But you have Solitaire and Spider Solitaire. You could have just combined those and made Spider Solitaire an option in Solitaire.
I'm very curious as to why they did it like that. Like, why is it so important to have it be 51 games, but like add the piano, but not include it as like a game, where they can like combine certain games that are basically like the same thing, and then just like add another game. Like, why is 51 so like important to have?
A lot of people latched on to that number. Period. When it was announced, everybody was talking about the being that it had been a slow year for announcements for the Switch, but 51 games are coming out in June, and a lot of people did latch on to it. I guess it's really just was a bigger number than the 42 on the last one, even though that wasn't even part of the subtitle of the first one. It was just Clubhouse Games.
Although I think it was released as something like that in another region.
Yeah, it probably was in Europe. But it was just really weird to me when it was announced that a lot of people didn't seem to know about it, the original. And I guess that's why it's really reviewed so well, is that a lot of people didn't know about the original. And I guess if it's in a echo chamber, that it's a really good game. But if you played the previous one, it doesn't feel like the same.
Yeah. No. Again, if you didn't play it, then it just feels like a breath of fresh air. But if you knew how the other game played, what you can do in it, then it definitely feels like a downgrade. Yeah. It'll appeal to like different audiences, of course. But like to the people that actually know it, then yeah, it'll be completely different for them.
The last thing that we feel is a downgrade from the DS version is the lack of icons. I mean, in this one you get an avatar. But in the previous one, there were icons that you could pick from. You could pick from animals, food, vehicles, flowers, and you could just use those as your avatar, and you could change those up. And in this one, again, you just have the person that you picked at the beginning of the game. And it's just more variety, and this one lacks that variety.
And you can like choose to have your like Switch icon, or you can have like the icon that they give you in the game. But even that, it just doesn't feel like you. It doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't feel like you. It doesn't feel like Clubhouse games because you can like customize the character basically, but
and it's very limited customization.
Yeah, it just doesn't feel interesting at all.
So yes, that's why we're disappointed. Did you play the original Clubhouse games? If you did, put a comment down below. Be sure to smash the like button, subscribe, follow us on our socials down in the description. This is We Play Too Much, and we're out.
Peace.